Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible game that I am ashamed that I'm showing you only now, as it happened like a month ago. It is between Stockfish and Leela Chess Zero from the Computer Chess Championship. Now this game is so good you guys will think it's actually magical. I mean, at these ratings 3791 and 3664, it is, I mean, like, it's pure magic. Humans are completely incapable of playing at this level. Throughout history we could maybe find 10 games that we could compare to, this brilliancy, this level of brilliancy. But yeah, Stockfish and Leela have been brawling it out ever since like 2017, and you guys always say that you can't really be rivals if you haven't defeated each other. Both of them have to win in order for them to be rivals. And Leela has defeated Stockfish in a match in 2019, winning the TCEC, the Top Chess Engine competition, becoming the first neural network ever to defeat Stockfish, which uses I believe it's called the alpha beta search algorithm. And ever since then, ever since 2020, the good people at Stockfish integrated the NNUE, the efficiently updatable neural networks, into the Stockfish search algorithm when it looks for moves, which made Stockfish even stronger and even faster. And ever since then, Stockfish has been outperforming Leela in every competition. Now, of course, Leela wins the game here and there, but Stockfish is the overall stronger chess entity. And okay, yeah, we could say that Leela is maybe like a super Tal, and Stockfish is like a super Magnus. So if we imagine it like that, it can be a really fun game. And yeah, I'm just very happy that I will show this game to you, because if you haven't seen it, you'll just you're not gonna believe your eyes. So let's check it out. Stockfish has the white pieces, and we have pawn to e4. Now, I think the first couple of moves have been set in advance, because if they weren't, they would constantly play the exact same opening over and over. So this way, they make sure, because they play like 100 games, and then they make sure they play a variety of openings, for us humans to enjoy. Pawn to c6, Caro-Kann, we have d4, d5, and pawn to e5. And here, okay, bishop to f5 is still the top move, but we have the immediate pawn to c5, shifting into the so-called Botvinnik-Carls variation, as it's called nowadays. And here, okay, they are on their own. We have d captures on c5 and pawn to e6. Okay, nothing new here, all been played before. Bishop to e3, we have knight to d7 and bishop to b5. Developing the light square bishop, and queen to c7. You could also give a check, but you're not going to win the bishop, as knight c3 will defend that bishop on b5. And knight to f3, defending the e5 pawn, is again the most common idea in this position, but Stockfish goes pawn to b4. Like I said, it's the strongest move in every position, and here you have a 3800 Stockfish proving that to you, even at the expense of the e5 pawn. So okay, Leela grabs on e5, attacks the rook on a1, and pawn to c3. And now, this position has actually been reached in human chess. Queen to c7 is a known move, but here we have knight to f6, and it is now, as of move 8, that we have a completely new game. So let's see what happens. Knight to f3, attacking Leela's queen. We have queen back to b8 and queen to d4. Stockfish centralizes the queen to a powerful d4 square. Pawn to a6 attacking the bishop, and bishop to f4 attacking Leela's queen. We have queen to a7, and now Stockfish trades bishop for knight. Bishop captures on d7, and pawn to a4, grabbing more space on the queen side. Bishop to e7, Leela prepares the castle, and knight b to d2. We have castles kingside, and bishop to e5. So okay, Leela's queen and rook not really doing all that much on the queen side. She will have to, well, work a bit to stop Stockfish's onslaught on the king side. We have rook 8 to d8 and pawn to g4. Look at this. This is, I mean, it all makes sense when Stockfish plays it. Like, this is just beautiful. We have pawn to a5, and now rook to g1. Saying, okay, you do whatever, I have a double c pawn, I'm gonna undouble, and I'm gonna continue pushing here. So a captures on b4, c captures, we have queen to a6, and pawn to g5. Okay, we have knight to h5. You could also maybe go back with knight to e8, but knight to h5 is, well, more more reasonable. Queen g4 attacking the knight, and pawn to g4 attacking defending the knight on h5. Okay, making some dark square weaknesses here, but I mean, yeah, if you have to do it, you have to do it. We have knight to d4 and knight to g7. Now, with the idea of knight f5 at some point, we have queen back to e2, offering a queen trade, and Leela just continues with knight to f5. The problem with a queen trade here is that, look at this, Stockfish has a 3-1 on the queen side, and this is going to be very, very hard to hold. So Leela goes knight to f5, offers a trade of knights, and Stockfish trades. Knight captures, we have e captures on f5, and again, while you could trade, Stockfish now didn't rush, just pawn to f4. Now the pawn is nicely defended, you can further advance the h-pawn, just controlling more squares. That's how both Leela and Stockfish are playing. We have queen back to a8, Leela avoids the queen trade, and pawn to a5. Stockfish now just continues pushing on the queen side, winning even more space. We have pawn to d4, Leela finds a very tricky pawn sacrifice that, if accepted, leads to a crazy position. Look at this, if bishop captures on d4, then bishop b5 attacks the queen to pick up the bishop on d4, and once you move the queen, let's say queen e5, rook captures on d4, and after queen captures, rook to d8, and yes, Leela sacrificed the exchange, but look at the mighty bishop pair. This would be a catastrophe for Stockfish. So Stockfish not gonna fall for that. After all, it also uses the NNUE principle now. Knight to b3, and we have bishop to c6. Okay, another excellent square for Leela's bishop. Knight captures on d4, and now bishop to e4. So you had to give up a pawn, but your bishop is now, well, a beautiful piece. Queen to c4 by Stockfish, and now pawn to b6. Another weird move by Leela. What is this? I mean, it's 3-1 on the queen side. Leela wants to make it a 3-0, but it's not gonna... Well, of course, you cannot capture with the a-pawn. The rook on a1 is hanging, but you could play c captures on b6. That would win the d6 square for Leela, and, well, she would have a move with the bishop, so that's, you know, basically surviving. But Stockfish says, nope, no, I don't need to do that. Pawn to c6, just, you know, creating a passed pawn. We have rook to d5, and now pawn to a6. Stockfish now with two passed pawns almost connected on the queen side. Pawn to b5. Leela chases away the queen. Queen to c3, and now pawn to h6. Stockfish just plays pawn to h4 and queen to a7. Now paralyzing the knight, as the rook on g1 would hang. So Stockfish lifts the rook to g3, and rook to c8. King to f1, we have pawn to h5, closing the position on the king side, but that also means you've wasted a move, and Stockfish will try to punish that. Rook to e3, and bishop to f8, hoping to get bishop to g7 in to trade off the bishops, but you know, that's easier said than done. Rook to e2. If you know, the knight moves and the queen moves from the defense of the e3 square, you do not want that rook on e3. So king h7, and now rook to d2. And here, believe it or not, there is no useful move for Leela. Like, the position is so difficult to even consider a move. Like, look at this monster bishop on e5. You cannot play rook c7, queen to b8. If you try something like bishop to g7 to trade bishops, you get checkmated immediately. Knight e6 check with a double check from the queen and the knight, and this will be checkmate. So there really isn't a good move you can play here. Leela tries rook back to d8, and now knight captures on b5. Stockfish grabs yet another pawn. Queen to b6. Now, okay, Leela will have some counterplay here, as the Stockfish king also is, you know, feeling the draft a little bit. Queen to c4, defending the knight, and now comes bishop to g7. And this is where the magic happens. Bishop captures on g7, rook captures on c6, attacking the queen, and now queen captures on f7. And it seems like Leela is getting destroyed here. Once the bishop moves, it's going to be checkmate. Rook c7 is impossible. The knight and the queen covered that. So what was Leela's plan? Why will Leela allow this? Feel free to pause the video and figure it out while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on realizing that no, Leela cannot win this, but you can prevent losing this. So for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to g2 with check. You could also start with a rook sacrifice, but bishop to g2 check is what Leela played. And now the problem is you can't really capture the bishop. If you capture the bishop, let's say king captures on g2, then comes rook captures on d2. And after king to h1, look at this, a rook sacrifice, rook h2 check, king captures, and now rook to c2 check, and you cannot escape checkmate. King to h1, queen to c6 with check, king to g1, and queen to g2 will be checkmate. So what can you do after bishop to g2 check? You cannot capture. Can you move the king? King to e2. Not really. Again, rook captures on d2. King captures, queen to f2 with check. The rook cuts off the king from the c file. And after, let's say, king d3, bishop to e4 will be checkmate. So that doesn't work either. So the only move Stockfish has is rook captures on g2. At least now rook captures on d2 is not an issue. But now look at this. Rook to c1 check. Now Leela sacrifices a rook. And now you realize what is happening. The king has no squares. And if the rook, the bishop, the rook, and the queen disappear from the board, it's stalemate. Chess is sometimes that simple. Rook captures on c1. Now a sacrifice of a second rook. Rook to d1 check. And it doesn't matter if you go up the board. Rook to d2 check, Leela would just continue checking until you accepted the rook. So rook captures on d1, and now queen to f2 check, and he was in this position on move 44 that Leela and Stockfish agreed to a draw, as there is nothing more to be done here. Or maybe the queen was captured, but I think they actually agreed to a draw here, because if the king or rook captures the queen, it's stalemate. The black king has nowhere to go, the pawns are trapped, and now you realize Leela wasn't just sacrificing all of these pawns to make room for her queen to go after the white king, but also to get rid of any and all material. That was also the idea. So yeah, sometimes that can make a difference. Sometimes you're looking at your position and you're like, yeah, I mean, I'd have stalemate if if there wasn't for this, let's say, a6 pawn on the board. But maybe there was a point in the game where you could have gotten rid of it, and then still play your game, still play for the win. But if it doesn't work, maybe it's gonna be stalemate. So sometimes, games like these help us play like that, and sometimes it's possible to implement this into our own play. But yeah, like I said, ever since 2019, since Leela won the TCC over Stockfish in the super final, Stockfish consistently outplays Leela, and okay, sometimes Leela wins a game, but Stockfish wins the matches. But sometimes Leela, just outclasses Stockfish like this, and even though this half a point feels like a victory, like no other. I mean, if you had this, if you had this in your own game against anyone, your opponent just played queen to f7, and you started like this: bishop g2, rook to c1, rook to d1, queen to f2. I think the entire playing hall would just rise and give you a standing ovation. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Brilliant game by both of them, as it usually is when such strong engines are playing. But even though it's a draw, I give this one over to Leela. Hope you enjoyed it. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Danush, and I would like to thank Ivan Sterling, Just Van Veer, Giampolo Londona, and BulletChessThriller.com for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.